Stringer from Boulder, Colorado, and I've always been an admirer of Cheri's work. She does fantastic work out in that area, and it's very interesting the difference in ecology out in the Boulder, Denver area versus Pennsylvania. So I've always been very interested in that. She's won many awards over the years for her amazing work. And how long have you been doing this, Cheri? So welcome.
It's been since 2005, so
Wow.
a long time.
Yeah, that's really, really cool. So, what got you started here in the industry?
You know, this is a crazy thing. I used to spend my childhood underneath a weeping willow, and it
Oh,
was the
nice.
one space that it was mine. I fantasized underneath this giant weeping willow. I would run around it. It was just my space that I would always go to where I felt connected to something bigger, right?
Yeah.
And as I got older, I realized that that's about living our best life, right? It is connected to something bigger, but connecting to something meaningful to ourselves.
Mhm.
And that stayed with me, throughout just kind of getting, growing up and going through childhood and all that. And I was actually in the sciences. I was in molecular biology. I had, worked for the Seattle Project in Seattle, where they studied cancer research at Fred Hutchinson Research Center. I had a whole nother life.
Mhm.
But amidst all that, I was still really invested in, developing outdoor spaces. And it was really a hobby. I mean, I did it for friends. I would create these areas where they could have their barbecues and they could have social gatherings. And, we'd
Oh.
plant bulbs. And I was really into plants and I would grow them from seed inside. And, it was like a greenhouse in my house. But that really evolved because I grew up in an architectural family. So I was surrounded by architecture, by design from a very young age. I remember walking through, homes with my grandfather when they were just, a shell, and he was developing, the view corridors and all these things that I use now in my work. And so there was also this sort of influence of not only nature and an appreciation and gratitude for it, but also architecture. So somewhere along the line, I actually got this opportunity to be on a landscape task force, and everything just clicked for me. Like it all came together, and I was like, "This is what I should be doing for a living because this is what
Yeah.
I'm passionate about." And from there, the rest is history. I did a few projects, and word of mouth just flew, and I grew and developed from there. So that's the story of how I got started into the business.
That's awesome.
Um, yeah, and then once I got started, it was like I love business. I love the strategies of business. I love the challenges of critical thinking, of pushing yourself constantly. And what is the architectural, design piece that I don't understand yet? I want to dive into that. Let's hands-on learn that. And so I
Mhm.
built everything I designed
Okay.
from the beginning. And I would get in the trenches with the guys and I'd be like, well, how do you do this? What have you learned about masonry? Like, how do we do this faster? And doing that over 15 years, I've built this, just a background of knowledge that now when I look back, I just can't believe, some of the things that I've done now. Sometimes it feels like it's somebody else, right? When you wake up and you're like, who did that? Who did
Yeah.
that project? It wasn't me. So, but that's good because if we're uncomfortable, if we're always pushing the boundary, then we're living our best lives.
Absolutely. Yep. All the best things are out of your comfort zone, right?
Exactly.
You gotta keep
Exactly.
pushing them. And I have noticed in your designs that you have weeping willows in them. Is that a thing you often include because of that childhood
That's a
memory?
great question. I think it's kind of it just ended up being kind of serendipitous, right? But here's the thing. I mean, and you had this in your questions too. Like, what is your specialty? And I thought about this a lot. And most people will say, "Oh, our specialty is modern," or blah, blah, blah. My whole specialty is figuring out what's missing in people's lives.
Okay.
So I get on a site and I
Love that.
start thinking about in 3D what is missing here, and then I listen to the clients and I listen to their experience. They want to share with family, or they've waited their whole life to be out there with their wife in an environment they feel amazing in. But there's
Mhm.
another piece to this, and this relates to the willow. If I get to a site and I feel a connection to the earth, because I truly believe nature is healing, right?
Mhm.
If I feel a connection on that site, and maybe it's even in the middle of the city, I walk into a site that has a topography that speaks to me,
Mhm.
then I'm in,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, this is a good project for me because I have a connection. Now I'm going to make a connection with the clients on what's missing for them, so I
Yeah.
can add my expertise and bring that to life.
I
And
love
what's really interesting about the willow is, we have a project called Willow Sanctuary. I walked on site. The clients were, actually, in our lives, right? We deal with all kinds of clients that aren't necessarily, happy to deal with all the time.
it.
This particular client was pretty tough. He's difficult to work with, super critical. But I had this sort of grounding force of a connection to this willow tree. And
Okay.
I knew that I could make a design that would be unbelievable because I had a connection. And all
Yeah.
I needed to do was figure out what was missing for them.
Yeah.
And ultimately, there are a lot of willows in my plans because I have a connection, right? Right now we're
Yeah.
doing Gallagher Farm. There's a willow on the pond, and there's a pond view, and it's driven everything in the design.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's kind of serendipitous, but there's also a piece of connection there.
I remember the first time we met and we were walking side by side chatting, and there was just something about your energy that I thought was interesting. And we connect with that architectural side of this whole
Yeah,
equation, right? So some are more focused on the plants, some are more
yeah,
focused on the architecture. We have that bridge between them, and I think that's what really made us
yeah.
connect. That's what I always remember.
Yeah, I was thinking about the other day too, because that was the first conference I ever went to,
Mine too.
in a a professional setting,
Mhm.
and I remember meeting you, and it was like on the tour bus to the
Yeah,
Walt Disney Insider Tour,
yeah, yeah,
and I've been talking to a lot of people, but it's like there's a passion for me that's both nature and it's design, and the design piece of it isn't just planting design, it's a form and function. When
Mhm.
I'm walking out, and I'm inspired by somebody's work, it's because there is so much work behind underneath to get to something that is seamless and effortless.
Yeah,
If I walk into a site and I'm like, I feel a sense of beauty and connection, and yet I know that somebody spent time on the size of the patio and the height of the wall and the texture combinations and the seamlessness of how they're matching the wood and steel. There's so much behind it that was challenging to achieve the simplicity,
yeah,
to achieve the effect. That just I mean that intrigues me always. I
yeah,
always get curious. How did they do
yeah,
that?
yeah,
What did
yeah.
they do? Are they doing the same thing I'm doing?
How do
That
they make
that
it look so simple?
yeah,
It's not simple, but
it's
and that's
not.
really the mark of a true, a true craftsman or a true artist is
Right.
someone who can take the minimal and make it enough, but
Yes.
hide all the other pieces, but they're still there. So
Right.
it's
Right.
that balance. That's the beauty of all of this. Yeah,
It is. Now you can also have that simplicity, but you can miss the beauty.
true.
So there is also an artistry in combining the architectural knowledge, the construction knowledge,
Mhm.
even the engineering that I've had to learn, right? And the creativity of combining that in a way that when somebody steps on site, they feel the beauty of it.
Yeah,
Because if there is beauty, there's connection
yeah,
to something bigger than ourselves. When I'm in nature, that's what it's about, right? It's about nature immersion, right? It's
yeah,
about being connected to something that makes me feel small.
yeah.
So when I walk on a site when we're done, I want to feel small in comparison to the site we've created because there
Mhm.
should be enough beauty and simplicity in the architecture and a layering of the plant material that I feel like I'm in a different place experientially.
I love that. I love that. You can see that in your work. You're just fantastic that way. Every time you see the pictures, I see these things. I'm like, you can just see yourself living in that environment and feeling like you've been taken somewhere else, and it's
Yeah,
only steps out of the house. It's really
and it's unique. It's unique to every person, and I think that's what is so amazing about this industry.
yeah,
And we're all in this for that. I feel we're all in this for that experience of creating something that has meaning and
yes,
value to people's lives.
yeah,
And it's like right now that can be more important, right?
no, absolutely,
Because I keep telling clients, and you have this too, is that we can experience joy in the process of developing this is you're thinking about the future. You're not thinking about the now and maybe some of the things you're struggling with. You're thinking about a future that you envision that you want to have.
yeah,
And that's powerful right now.
there is, yeah.
Yeah.
We can be the conduit for that, right? We can
Right,
come up,
exactly.
yep,
Yep.
take all the things you like and don't like, and
Yep.
create this future plan. It's almost like creating this
Mhm.
vacation that never leaves.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I have
Yeah.
people ask me like, "What's your company mission? What's your mission?" And we all have these like slogans, like "Get outside, live your," "We build it, you live it" is ours. But underlying all that, it's really about people living their best lives. So
Yeah.
how do I do that? How do I make it a joyful experience? How do I make it a connective experience?
Yeah.
And man, those are the challenges right now, right? How do I connect with clients where I used to connect with them personally,
Yeah.
in person, now through video,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So,
And same body language, energies, and all that stuff, and that
yeah,
whole,
yeah,
that soup that happens at the meetings, all of that
right.
stuff. How do you get all that now electronically? So yeah.
Yeah. But now we've got to have another level of presentation skill. We've got to
Yes.
have another level of impact.
Yeah.
It's got to be that game has got to be upped. If in person I can make that impression, now with video, I've got to make that impression with clarity and
Mhm.
preparation and
Yeah.
energy that I
Yeah.
bring, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's an interesting opportunity for us
Sure.
all to like grow in another area. Like, wow, I've always wanted to have more impact. Let's go.
Yeah. Exactly. Roll up your sleeves. Let's get this done.
Right.
I love it. I love it. So tell me a little bit about your business model, how you guys work. Do you
Yeah.
just do design? Do you do design build? Do you have crews? Like, what does it look like for you guys?
I love that question because we are so unique. So we run a design segment, right? So we're design build. Most design build models, basically, you try to work the design into the build, right? And you make all your profit there, not us. About a year ago, I realized that we produce an amazing product. And I was like, and it's very unique. We produce this book, and it has all the details, start to finish, demo, grading, drainage, hardscape, detailed plans. The clients get the book. And the book is this sort of roadmap for them. And they get that before we even start, right? So they know what to expect, right?
Yeah.
So we set it up so that we are really literally in a model of an architectural firm, right? They give us a retainer, and we charge hourly fees for the design. And we tell them, design's going to be 10 to 15% of the total project cost.
Yeah.
So they have an idea, right? They have a range, right? And we start with just an initial. There's no commitment to that. But by the time we get to 20 hours, I'm going to have a lot of stuff to show you. If you feel like this is a good connection, then we're going to continue. We're going to charge you hourly. So we bill hourly on that. We bill monthly to our clients.
Cool.
During that time, there's also an overlap because we've got processes that are simplified for construction. And I mean, I've worked my tail off for this. I didn't start having this in place. The last 3 years has been a lot of growth on my part on the construction process, right?
Sure.
Developing a team that's capable of building what I design may sound simple, but it's not at all.
Back to that minimalism, right?
Especially when I get a little too creative and there's like something we've never done before, like a
Yeah.
fire pit that's, multi-angled and double burnered and has all these different sides. So within that, at the same time, they're running through the construction process, but we
Yeah.
have it all laid out in like a really simple diagram for them. So it overlaps a little bit, and we'll get into maybe middle of the design, and we'll say it's time for you to get on our construction schedule, right?
Mhm.
So from the construction point, within that, they're experiencing a normal like kind of design build model, right? We bill every 2 weeks. We target the same gross margin everybody else does on construction, right? And so they're getting billed on progress all the way through. What I found though is that's just a beautiful process because now the clients are only paying for what we do. And I've
Yeah.
developed this whole system where we meet them every 2 weeks. It's a standing meeting. And once they do a couple of meetings, they're like, it's so clear. We know exactly what you're doing. There's never any question about what they owe or where we are at. It's seamless. So our model is really design build, charge for design fees. We charge what we feel we're worth, and we're upfront about what those fees are.
Mhm.
And then they pay the same kind of percentages in construction, right? When we build. So with that, we also then overlay design only, right? And then we'll also add construction projects from, people we trust, like architects and stuff like that, to the construction schedule. And with those elements, we're able to really book way far out in advance.
That's cool. That's
And
cool.
people are willing to wait because
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
see the product, right?
Exactly. If they
Right.
want you, they gotta wait. That's it. That's the best
Right.
place to be in,
Right.
right?
Right,
That's
exactly.
right, that's right.
Now, I mean, to get there, people are asking me like, "What are you doing in these times, and what's your business model?" Right, and I know we're going to talk about that today, and and I want to share with people. It's like to get there, there's a lot of work that has to be done underlying, right,
Oh
on your
yeah,
processes.
tons.
You've got to simplify things. It's got to be very clear. Your voice has to be clear, and most importantly, there's a lot of internal work as a leader you have to do
Yep.
where your crew and everyone that's touching the customers has to be in line with your company values. When
Hmm.
all that's congruent, it's amazing.
Sure
Clients
is.
feel it. They feel that congruence, and they're just like they couldn't be more happy. And happy clients, we all know, is what we're after.
Every single one, right?
Right?
Good plans, right?
Yeah.
Actually a pretty good segue into my next
Yeah.
question. Who
Okay.
is your ideal client?
Ah,
How would you
yes.
categorize
And
them?
this has changed actually.
Yeah.
My ideal client used to be, kind of business owner, someone who understood the impact and power of creativity, of artistry. Maybe they understood architecture and design, and they valued it. They'd experienced it before, right? In general, that was kind of the ideal client. They were in
Mhm.
their 25 to 45. They had experienced some life but knew what they wanted on some level. Most of them were married with kids, some were not, but most were, and looking for a connection. Okay, that's really changed. Now, with the development of, like, I guess my leadership, one of my weaknesses when I started this was my leadership. I did not know how to run a team at
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
I knew how to run myself, right,
Hmm.
as a sole proprietor. Okay. But to run a team, totally different dynamic.
Yeah.
How to embrace, humility and vulnerability, but with boundaries as a leader. How to inspire people on your team from within.
Yep.
And when I started doing that and we started lining up all of our values to this, what I realized was that when our team all shared the same values and we were all inspired by the same thing, then
Hmm.
our ideal client changes because our ideal client then is online with those values as well.
Right.
So when I'm looking now for my ideal client, I'm looking for someone who has an appreciation of nature, who has heritage in their family. Maybe they've done a farm for 4 or 5 generations, and they understand the power of the land, right, and
Hmm.
the power of connection that it has.
Yep.
Maybe they have architecture in their family, and they've experienced architecture and design and seen how it influences their lives.
Hmm.
But these are people that really believe in living their best lives. And
Hmm.
that wasn't part of my ideal client, before I started doing the team. And it evolved as I started working internally on
Yeah.
everybody's values. What's your values? What's our values? And then what is our top 3 values as a team?
Yeah.
And how do we daily express that in not only in our work on construction, but in design? How
Yeah.
do we express that in what we deliver? Right?
Yep.
So that's changed the ideal client. And so,
Yep.
for example, one of my clients right now is they 4 generations on a family farm in Boulder. There's a lot of heritage there. There's a lot of history to
Hmm.
connect into, but they really understand the power of connection that outdoor spaces have. I mean, the
Yeah.
very first conversation I had with them was, we want to bring our families together and really enjoy being together outside.
Hmm.
That's like music to my ears.
Exactly.
That's,
Yeah.
and they've got a pond, which is a direct view from their house. They've remodeled their house and really understand architecture and they're mid-century modern. So all these things sort of line up and going, I can do my best work, right? Because there's also this piece where you got to like evaluate, am I going to be able to do my best work with this client? Because if I can't, I'm going to go to the one I can. Because
Yep.
if I can't do my best work, then I'm not going to shine. My team's not going to shine. Our work's not going to shine. You
Yep.
know, so that's changed a lot. So I get, if I get clients that call me and they're in a hurry, they're looking for a budget, a really tight one that's totally unreasonable, right?
Yep.
Um, I'm going to talk to them and I'm going to say, this is our process, and we can get to you next year, and right, and all these things, and then if there's other connective pieces, I might consider working with them. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna immediately kind of steer them to, I think these companies are going to be better for you,
No,
which
that's a good point. That's a good point because I think a lot of us as business owners, we start out as being the artist, right, and the one that's
yeah,
doing everything, jack of all trades, and then we realize, what, I can't.
yeah,
If I want to grow to where I want to go, I have to
right,
get people on my team, right, and And in the beginning, any job will do. And then after a while,
Yeah.
you like have a team, I have a certain standard, right? So
Right.
that
Right.
starts to evolve. So your clientele starts to evolve. Your focus, as you mentioned, you get the team together, you start talking about those core principles and core values, and you say, it's really important that A, B, and C are our highest core values. Now we have to make sure that our clients now align with that. Because if they
Right.
don't,
Right. Right.
it's a problem, right? It's a train wreck.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so super important to get that, but that just changed. My point is that it changes over time. And maybe in 3 years
Does.
from now, you'll be like, you know what? That will work for then. But our ideal
Yeah.
client has evolved ever so slightly to this.
Yeah.
But it's so important. That's so cool.
Because I'm sure you went through this evolution too. You know,
Absolutely.
if we
Yeah.
evolve as a business and we match what our evolution is,
Yep.
I'm always evolving. So now what I've realized is every year I got to review this. I got
Yep.
to revisit it and ask, what is my core principle right now? What is my core belief? What am I trying to deliver, and what is the reason?
Yep.
Because then we can be authentic too. I can
Right.
sit there with my clients and talk about nature immersion, and they get it. They
Yep.
go, well, what is nature? Oh yeah, I mean, we go out in nature all the time. We understand that sense of peace that we get from being part of something bigger than ourselves.
Yep.
So it's like always reevaluating that too. And what's more important than in this time to keep our rituals and our grounding in our values and
Yeah.
not change that. Don't let the environment that's going on change what's going on with that.
Exactly. No, if you start losing that, you start losing sense of who you are. And it's not even
Yeah.
the habits that you do all the time or whatever it might be, but it's more about the rituals, the different decisions you've made for yourself that you're sticking
Yeah.
with them, especially when times get tough, because that's truly when you start believing more in yourself, when you know that you will always deliver for you first.
Right, right, right.
So important. So
Yeah.
important. Yeah, there's no
Yeah, it
doubt.
is because you can't give to others if you're not taking care of your own internal peace.
Yeah.
And when you do that, you can give more.
Yeah.
I love Simon Sinek. He has a lot of great
Mhm.
things to say.
Yeah.
Rereading his book on, start with why. But there's a
Mhm.
section in this that I think applies to this, and that is that we often, when we're starting a business like this, and I did this too, I tried to target the middle of the bell curve. And the
Mhm.
problem with that is I'm going to take every client, I'm just going to do my best work with every client, and it's not going to matter whether they align with my values or not. The
Yeah.
problem with that is then you can't deliver your best product, but it also causes all kinds of conflict because what their values are don't match up. And
Yeah.
so now what you're trying to deliver doesn't match up to what they need, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera. You actually want to target the left side of the bell curve, and Simon's correct on this. If I target the left side of the bell curve, and I'm being authentic with who I am, I'm
Mhm.
being authentic in my product delivery, in my energy, in my values, then I'm not targeting the middle of the curve. I'm
Right.
trying to find the people that believe what I believe. And when
Mhm.
I find the people that believe what I believe, those are my ideal clients.
Yep.
Right? And so those guys, those gals and guys, those clients are going to be the early adopters of
Yep.
my vision. And if
Mhm.
I'm reviewing that every year, then the early adopters of my vision might change. But the tipping point of people saying, wow, we love this vision, we love this product, we love this experience, they tell everybody else.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
have work that is so in line and congruent with who I am that I live my best life, right?
It's a small room thing, right? So,
Yeah,
the funny part about being a business owner is that your business is a direct reflection of your
yeah,
rituals. It's a direct reflection of your core beliefs and your
yeah,
morals, all of that. That's where it all comes from. It's just visual, and then it's a matter of bringing people on your team that share those things that find them valuable, right? And if you are struggling as a person personally in a certain area, you mentioned leadership earlier. You better fix you first because you can't go outside for that.
yeah,
You've got to
yeah,
work and do the hard work inside first.
yep,
And then from
yep,
there, you can see the fruits of that labor. So you nailed that earlier. We
yeah,
all have weak spots. We all have things we need to work on. And
yep.
if we're not looking for them, then we're going to be failing. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. It's that simple.
We're
So
also going to be reacting
yeah,
instead of
exactly.
responding, right?
Yep,
And that's even more important right now in this environment.
it
You
is.
know, and I love one of your questions. It's like, how are you dealing with this? How are you dealing with this from a business perspective? This particular environment that we're in.
Yeah,
And it relates to that question.
yeah,
So it's about like if I know more about myself
yep,
and then I'm able to inspire my team.
yeah,
I can be a beacon of light right now for all my clients, for my team,
yeah,
on what it means to think about the future and have a joyful process and keep our rituals and our values the same,
yep.
regardless of what's going on around us.
It's unshakable foundation. This is
It
what it is.
is.
And no matter if it's raining or snowing, it's still the same thing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and
Now,
it's yeah.
how has it been for you guys? Has the phone been ringing out there in Boulder?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So it has.
Good.
Clients have been ringing, and clients have been asking questions,
Yeah.
and I really feel like this goes back to mindset. Another excellent book,
Yep.
is that if when they call me as an interpreter, as a CEO, as a business, right, their first experience with me is my concern over the environment. That's not going to bode well,
Yeah.
right, for them. So I have the mindset of when they're calling, I'm immediately going to what I can give, which is
Yeah.
vision, right?
Yeah.
So I go right to vision. What are you guys thinking about? What do you guys want to experience? What do
Yeah.
you want to feel in this environment? Why'd you call me? What's the circumstance within the calling? Because
Yeah.
if I can understand that the circumstance isn't just about a patio, what it
Mhm.
happens to be about my older mother who's struggling, and I'm thinking about me and my husband, and we want to actually be out in the environment together and sipping tea and coffee. And now I understand the underlying reason they
Yes.
called me.
The
Now
why.
we start talking about the vision, and we
Yeah.
start talking about the future, and I
Yeah.
start talking about the process, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So the only thing that's changed is people are uncertain. There's less certainty. So
Yeah.
if I can give them certainty in my process, I
Mhm.
can give them certainty in I connect with their vision when I do. When I don't, it's here's some companies you can call, right?
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
But if I can share that,
Yes.
um, then nothing's different
Yeah.
because people are looking for that. They're looking for some constancy. They're looking for something that they can think about that's going to bring them some happiness right
Yeah.
now,
Absolutely.
right? And so it's like balancing that out. And
It
I'm
is.
finding, wow, if I'm authentic, I've always been this like super happy, like positive person. And
Yeah.
I'm finding that that's like one of the best things I can do is just be vulnerable with that. I used to always like try and make it a little more professional and
Mhm.
like kind of, in some ways, kind of not hide it isn't the right word, but
Right.
I wasn't like fully confident inside in inner and the power of that. And the
Yeah.
more that I've done this sort of leadership work and really understood the alignment of my values, and I go, wow, this is something I can give to people. I hear from people, I that was so great talking to you. Like it just made me feel so good.
Yeah.
And I realize that's such a powerful thing that we can bring, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, I love
And
your energy over here today. I mean, I'm just it's like I'm looking at the sunshine. It just keeps coming. I love
trying
it.
to yeah, we're trying
Keep
to
it
bring it,
coming.
right?
Keep it coming.
We're outside in the studio.
Yeah, yeah, that's what it seems like, huh? So have you
Yeah.
guys been able to sell any projects, any designs of projects in the last few weeks? And if you have, how are you doing it?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So the answer is no, haven't sold any projects. But you know how it's like a progression, right?
Mhm.
So while I haven't closed on them, they're
Yeah.
all moving forward. They're just
Right.
moving forward at a different speed.
Yeah.
And there's different questions. And
Sure.
I'm just being cognizant of, hey, you know what? We're still moving forward. We're still connecting. There's
Yeah.
still this beautiful thing that we're creating.
Yeah.
And I know it's gonna come, right? I know it's
Yeah.
gonna come in the next week or 2 weeks. I have a lot of opportunities. So I
Mhm.
focus on the opportunities, and I don't let a particular period of time where I'm not actually getting a sale affect my optimism. Because then
Yeah.
I think about, okay, how many years have I been doing this?
Mhm.
And irrespective of this environment that we're in and this things that we're struggling with as business owners, I've had periods where I had 2 months where I had no sales,
Yeah.
right? And it didn't relate to anything other than it just happened to be the way things rolled out that year.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
So, but I am meeting with clients. I am connecting with clients. I'm having clients get excited about in the last 3 weeks about their projects.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
having clients call me and talk about stuff. We're sharing image studies. And so I know that there's some normalcy in that ritual,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that the closure of that sale is just a matter of time,
Exactly.
right?
It's not if,
So
but when. Yeah.
right. Now,
Yeah.
one of the ways that I'm trying to connect with people is making it as vivid as possible. So
Mhm.
we've been working on in our studio about where do we present? How far are we from the camera? How
Yeah.
good is our voice? How good
Yeah.
is our clarity of sound? Can I make the colors more vivid? Can I put anything that's going to bring that out? Whether it's plans or them seeing kind of the subtle architecture in the background. Can they read that stuff?
Yeah.
It's that impact, right? How do I have the same impact when I'm in person and I can show them a full color photo through a video,
Yeah.
right?
Love it.
And so that's how I'm connecting with clients is let's make it vivid. Let's make
Yeah.
it vivid. And that means I got to go back to work. I got to study something I didn't, I wasn't good at before. I got
Mhm.
to get good at video conferencing. I've got to get a good microphone. I got to get a good camera and I've got to play around with it. I got to test it. I got to practice it in Zoom or whatever other app I'm using, Facebook Live,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
I need to be a student again and get a little curious. How do I
Yeah.
do this? Like test it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
So I was
Yeah.
like calling some of my friends and going like, all right, what if I do this? Right? What
Yeah.
if I stand? Or what if I sit? Or what if I lean back?
What if
Like,
I- Yeah.
like no, but I mean, all of this matters. It really
Yeah. Yeah.
does. And what I've realized is like that it's going to be unique for everyone. So
It is.
everybody's business is going to be different because everybody's values and what you deliver are slightly different.
Right.
And you just got to practice, like
Yep.
become a student again, right?
Exactly.
Which is actually the best part of what we do, like constantly learning, right? And
Yeah,
growing.
I actually agree with you. This comes up, this whole Corona thing comes up, and it's like, all right, well, now
Yeah.
we got to rethink how we're doing things. We had already been doing video conferences before for certain parts of our process,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden it popped up. Now everybody's doing it, which is cool. I think it's something
Yeah.
that can really help a lot of different industries. But you're right, and it's a matter of like, all right, what's the backdrop look like? How does this look? Turn on different cameras. What does this look like? And I love your backdrop there. It definitely says we're designers here. Look at what we're working on.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
Yeah.
So how are you guys handling the shutdown in the Boulder area? Is there a shutdown? Exactly what does that
Yes.
look like for you guys?
Yes. So I just received a text this morning about the fact that the stay-at-home order has been extended to April 26th.
Oh, fun. Okay.
Only essential businesses are allowed to operate. I had about 3 weeks of PR talking to congressmen actually across the country. I was
Yeah.
telling them about the essentialness of landscape industry and how it brings vision to people's lives, and it's absolutely like necessary right now. On top of the fact that construction around somebody's home, if you're in the midst of construction, you're maintaining that cleanliness. You're maintaining the client's sort of wellness in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
in contributing to that. And so I was on the phone, I'd say half my day with congressmen here, with presidents of not only the ALCC, which is Colorado Contractors, but APLD and
Mhm.
NAC, NALP. Just talking to people about it because I felt like, okay, can I make an impact?
Yeah.
And we were deemed essential, and a lot of us are deemed essential across the country. Some of us are, some of us aren't. So in terms of that, then I had to institute a PR within my own team, right? How do I protect my team and
Mhm.
deliver our product, right?
Yeah.
And so we've got staggered schedules within our office. We have an office and a shop. So our construction team now staggers when they arrive at the shop. And then we have multiple construction projects going.
Yeah.
So within that, we had to stagger on the site, right? We have 2 teams of 3. Another team of 3 is starting next week. So within that team of 3, we have them assigned on different tasks, right? And we're
Yeah.
very mindful of kind of how we're operating on the site, being aware of the cleanliness and all that. Then we got to add sterilization techniques and
Yeah.
rituals, right? And then we've got to add education rituals. So I've added that to my team, like just educating them on the whole thing. Hey, if you've got these symptoms or these fears, and you got to stay home, I've got to induce a quarantine, right?
Yeah.
Then on the other side of it, I've had to initiate other ways that clients can pay me, other
Yeah.
ways that clients can connect with me. I want to make it as easy as possible for them to just call me up and have a FaceTime, right?
Yep. Yep.
And also feel comfortable that they can do that at any time, just like we would have if I had been in person all the time.
Yeah.
So it's like this huge PR piece that's internal and external, right?
Mhm.
That is then now added to everything that we do, right?
Well, yeah.
And that's how we've been dealing with it, sterilizing the tools and trucks, establishing new
Mhm.
rituals and staggered schedules. And then on top of it, I've been trying to secure additional revenue streams, right? So you're probably aware of TLC Mobile. I've been working on actually, ironically, for 3 years to launch
Come
over the
on.
whole country, which is really crazy, right?
That
Because
was
then I'm
damn
like,
good timing.
okay, and then we just launched it like last week, and there's been all this work put into streamline everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we launched it, and I looked at it, and I clicked on the website and everything, and it looks like it's so simple. And then I'm like, 3 years worth of work went into that, right, to
Yep.
be able to deliver the product, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just think it's ironic that right now we're doing that now with our local clients too. TLC Mobile was supposed to be this national thing,
Yeah.
and now it's like it's now morphed into it's TLC Mobile, but it's here too. And we're delivering that product. So
Yeah.
it just happens to be circumstantial that it overlaps with all the stuff that's going on. But I see that as an opportunity, like just to even
Absolutely.
make it better, right? Because now
So
I'm
tell us a little,
practicing
yeah,
more.
tell us a little bit more about the
Yeah.
TLC Mobile. Tell me a little bit more about
Oh
it.
yeah, TLC Mobile. So TLC Mobile is connecting with not only strategic partners across the country. I like to call them strategic partners because we're a team, right? Okay, so it's like firms like yours, firms like Scott Eckley's, firms like Jim's, and Blade of Grass, right? All across the country, people I know do quality work, right? We can send them the book, and they can build it, and I know they can build it because they've got the teams to do it.
Yeah.
Then I've got a contractors network that I'm tied into for exceptional pricing on things that I can then utilize that for the best contractors, the ones that deliver the best product
Yeah.
consistently.
Yeah.
And we've got that network in. So now our delivery looks the same as it does in state. I can do design and build. I can do the book, and I can even give them a proposal because I can know what those companies want to see from us, what
Yeah.
they're going to deliver, and whether we align on values.
Got
So
it.
TLC Mobile is about the chance to not be limited in our geographical space.
Yeah.
It's about being able to deliver the same product
Yeah.
everywhere,
Yeah.
right?
Cool.
Regardless of supply streams, regardless of state by state, regulation differences, opportunity to learn something new, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what TLC Mobile's about. Now it also allows me to deliver product like I can create steel planters or steel and wood pergola, which I've done on multiple sites. Maybe some unique custom elements
Mhm.
that I can create within my company, now I can put online. So
Yeah.
that's the next step of TLC Mobile is the merchandising piece, right?
Nice. Nice.
Where, right. So it has a lot of layers. It has a lot of potential.
So are
And
you going to be
I'm
designing?
excited.
No, it
Huh?
sounds awesome. I'm really excited for you. So are you going to be designing and sending these books out to contractors to build on their own? Is there clients, or do the clients come to you, or do you manage a project? Like, how does all that work?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So TLC Mobile originally, I mean, the original inception, and this may evolve, right, over time, and I'm open to that. But the original inception was these would be clients that come to us, right, through our own media, through our own PR work, through our own blog, things that are attracting people to us and our work and what we deliver. And then from there, we then share our clients with key strategic partners, ones we know that can bring our outdoor environments to life, right?
Yeah.
And within that, then we're going to develop the book and we're going to introduce them early to, say master plan. We're going to say, take a look at master plan, take a look at the work they did. We feel they're a really good fit. You guys are in Pennsylvania. Guess what? He can deliver on that. And
Nice.
then you get from me, I deliver early on the book. And I say, we're developing this book for these clients. Here's all the detail. Get
Yeah.
back to me on anything you need. Now we actually project manage with you. So you start building it. And now we're this ally for you to call up and say, hey, Cheri, now your design team developed this steel panel and wood mailbox. But as we're looking at the detail, I just have a few questions on how we're actually going to build this. And I'm wondering about, how you're attaching to the piers at the bottom and how you're finishing the side piece. And I go, oh, you know what? You're right, Josh. I need to send you some additional details on that. So we become this ally in your construction.
Got
And
it.
then with the clients, we're also project managing with them. It's the same
Mhm.
process. We give them construction updates every week, and they get a project reporting document that shows them exactly where you are in progress. So I might call you up and say, where are you in progress on demo, grading, drainage, right? And you might tell me where you are,
Yep.
and then I tell the clients, right? So there's
Okay.
this sort of extra layer of project management on top of what you do. It
Got
just
it.
delivers more value to the clients,
That sounds awesome.
right? Yeah, it's
Really
it's
cool.
really I'm excited about it. So
Absolutely. And like I said, timing couldn't be better. And I know that you
right.
are doing that. So
Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, well, it's forcing me to do the things right, like to get outside my comfort zone and actually do this stuff a little
Yep.
bit faster.
Yeah.
And I look at like, okay, TLC Mobile could have been launched, last year, but there was always just, oh, we'll do it next month. We'll do it next month. And
Yeah.
and really some of this is like, no, I got to get out there and just to be a little uncomfortable and just get out there and grow. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
So it's good too in that regard.
Now, are you guys able to work right now? I mean, I know you mentioned
Yeah,
restrictions,
yeah.
things that you're working on now, but has the state or the city or anybody shut you down and said no crews are working? What's the
Not yet.
no?
Not
Okay,
yet. So we have been told, it's a stay-at-home order. All of the restaurants are closed down.
yeah,
A lot of businesses here are still curbside, and big businesses like Target and other, things, places like that are still open, right?
yeah,
Now, I know in some states, all non-essential construction has been shut down, right?
yeah, yeah.
And of course, we've realized within all of this that what we love the most are all the non-essential things in life. I guess apparently, right? Like,
This is true.
okay,
This is
so
very
drinking
true.
beer is not essential, playing
Yeah,
soccer is not essential, but I mean, but along with those lines, right? We're still able to work, and one of the reasons we're still able to work is because our clients, in particular, even though they're impacted by, the closure of shops, or that their owners or their retirees, that their investment in this is not impacted. And so they can still keep, still keep paying for construction progress and all that kind of thing.
okay.
um, we have had people like reporting on other people, right?
Mhm.
Like if they see you not social distancing, they'll call you in on your. So we've been really careful about our PR within the company about,
Yeah,
look, we've got to, when we're on our sites, we have got to follow the rules
yeah,
so that it's not so much our clients per se, it's for them too, but it's also like if somebody's watching us, right? They're like, oh, they are social distancing, they are sterilizing, they are doing an
yeah,
essential business. And
yeah,
so it's like PR has become even more important, right? I mean, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah,
how are you viewed? How are you congruent with that?
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, so right now we're not, but I've also put in a lot of things in place just in case we were, right? Okay, let's say we were shut down and was suddenly told we were non-essential construction.
Mhm.
How would we handle that?
Yeah,
And internally, I believe it's like, you know what? As a leader, we have a choice right now. We can support our team, or we can choose to support ourselves.
yeah,
Right. And a lot of people get up, they kind of get wired up about this, but I'm like, look, my payroll, a month is really high, but that doesn't mean I can't figure out how to do that for 2 months. That doesn't mean that I can't, as a leader, support my second family in figuring out how do I make sure that they are economically stable, right? If we get shut down for a month, and I can just say, all right, you know what? Maybe I don't have profits this year in this range, or maybe I don't have profits this year at all. Maybe I break even and I keep rolling, and then I get the opportunity, right after all of this, to pick up again
yeah,
and have a stellar fall,
yeah,
or have a stellar year the next year because we're still here and because I
yeah,
took care of my family.
exactly.
For me, the people that work for me, and it's just my leadership style, they're my second family.
Yep.
they
No,
they become my teachers, you
yeah,
know and so within that, yeah, I've been putting a lot of things in place to allow that to happen. You've got the payroll protection program.
yeah,
It's submitting for that, and yeah, the banks are all kind of tied up with that, but eventually they won't be. So
yeah,
it's really just, I try to capture like, okay, it's just understanding it's a matter of time, all right,
yeah,
that we can get approved for those things, and there'll be additional funds that we can set aside for that.
yeah,
There's this unprecedented availability of loans at lower interest rate,
yeah, yeah,
because of the understanding of what's going on. This is an opportunity, refinance some of your stuff, you
yeah,
know,
yeah,
if you need to. But there's a lot of ways we can be creative about this, And I
yeah,
talked to my team too, and I told my team, that I would do everything I could to support them, and interesting things started happening. I had team members come to me and say, "I don't want to raise. I don't want to raise. I don't want benefits. It's okay. I don't need it."
yeah.
Because I was giving and they're giving back.
That's
And
great.
that's the piece about leadership that you start understanding. It's about serving others. Simon
Yeah,
Sinek has it right.
yeah,
It's about serving others. And when you can serve yourself and you can serve others, there's so much meaning in that.
oh yeah,
And there's meaning in that even when we're not developing. So then our team all got together and we're like, how about we start building those steel planters and that pergola, and like we could get ahead on production in our shop, right? Like there's just all these creative
yeah,
ideas flowing, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's how I approach, like,
That's
okay,
cool.
if we were shut down, completely shut down, right? Because right now it's just harder to work, right? But that's about it.
Yeah, no, it's good. And we can look at this one of two ways. The first is that this is happening to us or this is
Right.
happening for us,
I love that. It's a great
right?
mindset, right? It's a
That's
mindset.
it. So
That's
if you pick the first train, you're a
yeah,
victim. If
yeah,
you pick the second train, then everything and anything is possible.
right.
And
Get
you said
creative with it.
yeah, absolutely. This is an opportunity of a lifetime right now. We're going to call it the great pause, right? When everyone slows their life down,
Right.
back to what's important, family and friends,
Right.
and connected and planning
Yeah.
for what the future looks like and just
Yeah.
slowing it down. Can you imagine how many families that are constantly running with sports events and all
Yep.
play, all this stuff? It's now done. They're
Yeah.
able to sit down and stop, and they'll never forget these times when they're all together
Yeah.
by force, but all together sharing
Right.
time, sharing all
Right.
this, it's so important. It's at the end of
Yeah.
the day, like I said, you have two ways to look at it.
Yeah.
And, there's just too many opportunities out there right now to be thinking that it's anything more
Huge.
than that. Just
Huge.
too, yeah,
And it's not just with business. You ask how is this going to change the industry? It's going to transform it. Because
yeah,
what we're going to realize is, well, at least I've realized, I don't know if everyone else is realizing, I'm realizing how important my work is.
yeah,
But not only for my family, too. Suddenly we have more time because we're not commuting. Suddenly
yeah,
we realize that school doesn't mean our kids have to go to school.
yeah,
Right? Suddenly we realize that work doesn't mean we have to be limited in our geographical area. Right? We don't have to limit who we connect with.
yeah,
And suddenly those things that are so important in our lives, like building something of meaning and creating something, being outside and sharing things with people that matter most in our lives, has
mhm,
suddenly become to the forefront,
yep,
which is actually what our work is really about, right?
exactly, yeah,
So it's like this great opportunity to be like, this is why we got into this, and this is why we're still here. And we
yeah,
can deliver it not only to our own personal lives, we can deliver it to our clients.
absolutely.
It's unbelievable. I think
It's
it'll
like,
change that focus, that everyone will have on what it means, to live our best lives.
no, I agree. I agree. It's definitely adding,
Mhm.
a layer of something different into most people's
Yeah.
lives. I mean, how many generations went through
Mhm.
the normal life, if you will, and now all of a sudden we get this grand opportunity to just see the world stop
Yeah.
and you can sit back and watch and say, you know what, the sun's still coming up, the water's still flowing. It's
Yeah, and we
still
can still
beautiful
do
out
our
there.
work. We can still do our work. It's different. The
Absolutely,
dynamics are different, but isn't it? In some ways, it's refreshing.
it is.
It's a refresher of like, wow, I didn't even think about this. I could do this completely differently, and look at
Yeah,
what effect it's having on my life. But I
yeah,
also think it's so important. I sent you the rituals, right? And I posted on Yes Express, which was one of the rituals. But I have so many rituals that I do every day, and I realized at this kind of time, it's so important to keep those rituals the same.
yeah,
If I'm in my home office, doesn't matter. If I'm in my studio office, doesn't matter. If things are changing in my personal life, if I'm still doing those same rituals,
yeah.
I'm grounded.
You're grounded, exactly.
Yeah.
And
And
you
it's
are.
like all of a sudden the power of rituals and
Yeah,
being congruent with your values has so much more meaning
yeah,
and
yeah.
has so much more impact.
Yeah.
Um, and it's awesome. I mean,
Yeah.
I love that part of it. Such a great
Yeah.
opportunity, right?
No, it sure is. It sure is. Now,
Mhm.
how important has it been for you guys to have a well-oiled sales process or having a process for
Yeah.
sales? And I know that's one thing that
Yeah.
we connected on right away when we first met was the fact that you're very process driven, and I think I actually adopted a bunch of stuff from
You
you.
did. Yeah. Yeah. I
And
was like,
thank you for
oh,
that.
look, Joshua's copying me. No,
Yeah.
no, I just,
But
no,
I love
it's,
that's how your mind thinks. That's why it
oh,
works
thank
so
you.
well. So many people just kind of figure it out as they go. And I was
Sure.
on that for the longest
Sure.
time. And then when I had seen how you do your design process and all that, I was
Yeah.
intrigued. And then it kind of lit a spark in me, and that's where led me to where I am now. But
Oh,
so I
wow. That's cool. I
that,
didn't know that. I didn't.
yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
And, but yeah, so how important it is for you to
Okay.
have a system like that in
Oh,
place?
it's absolutely everything to
Yeah.
me. So, process I'm always working on. Now is more important than ever. So I'm so glad you brought that up.
Mhm.
Because here's the thing: we have a story to tell, right? We have a
Right.
story. And it's our own life story, but it's also our vision that we're giving our clients, and that's their story. We're developing their story in the process. I cannot have impact in my story if my process is all jammed up.
Yep.
If I've got a clean process, then my clients can visualize what their experience is going to be.
Yep.
And right now, in a sales environment where people are uncertain, that process is everything.
It
If
is.
they can see what they're going to get and they can visualize themselves doing image studies with you. And what's going to be step two? Oh, great, we're going to get a 3D model. That's going to be really cool.
Yeah.
What's going to be step three? How are we going to transition to construction? Now the hurdles or the barriers for them closing with you and working with you have been reduced.
Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
more important than ever.
Yeah.
So process is one of those things that, it takes a lot of time to work on. It's like rituals, right? You work on it, you work on it, you work on it, and you're like, oh, I'm never gonna get this right, and you're just like, it's just not quite. And you work on it, but you actually go on a plateau, right? So you work, 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 and then all of a sudden things start to come together. They come together and they fit tightly. And then you go to another plateau.
Yeah.
And the more you work on it, the more it gains momentum.
Yeah.
So I tell people like, oh my God, I haven't been working on process ever. It doesn't mean anything. Start now, because it can really change how you deliver your product.
Oh,
Process
absolutely.
it's all about understanding what is meaningful to you. So I love seeing how you took some of the things I shared with you and you made it your own.
Yep.
You made it authentic and real and like so Josh, so master plan, right? And that's the other piece. People are always afraid of being authentic. There's this idea of professionalism, and this ties to process. If I'm just going to be like everybody else and I'm going to make my process the same, now what's the reason for someone to connect to me? And what do they have to connect with me on? If they don't actually know that I'm human, and they don't know what my passions are, or my authenticity doesn't come through in my process, then I'm going to attract the wrong client, right? And I'm not going to actually be successful.
Yeah.
So process is so much more than what it seems. Process is about finding out what your authenticity is.
Yeah.
What is my natural inclination in terms of developing a project? What is my natural process as a professional, right?
Yeah.
And how can I bring that to my clients? And how can I enhance that for my ideal clients? Process is about vision.
And how you can deliver it over and over and over. Because
Yes.
you have a raving fan and they tell their neighbor, and then
Yes.
they said, I had an awesome experience with Cheri. TLC did an amazing job. And then they get the call. Nothing is the same. They say, these guys are out of their freaking mind. This is not what you told me about. What the hell?
Right. Right. It's consistency.
You had one that worked out really well.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden you can't replicate that. So a system allows you to replicate it. And from the sales side or the design side, systems in place allow you to multiply. So you can have multiple designers doing the same thing, saying the same thing.
Correct.
Same thing with the sales side. That's one of the biggest fears owners have, right? Is letting go of the sales side, because most of us are the salespeople. But being able to say, look, I've trained this person. They're going to say the right things at the right time. They know the structure. They know the outcome. And then each client can have that same experience, and they can be like, wow, Cheri, you were right. They're awesome.
Yeah.
That's how you expand.
It allows you to let go. It allows you to let go. That's it exactly. I mean, it's efficiency too. If you're going to reach all the clients and you're going to have the same vision, like what you're talking about, you've got to be really efficient. But you also have that leadership work internally. How do you share your vision with your employees? Process is how you share the vision with your employees. Process is how you share the vision with clients. It's also how you share the vision with your employees. And if your employees are delivering consistently the same product, then you have a company brand. That's what brand is about. Did everybody experience what you wanted them to experience? It was your brand, which is about living their best life. Did they experience that? Or was it like, gosh, dang it, I didn't get this on time or whatever? But that's all about process, and how well you do that as a leader is working on that. You just got to work on it. It's not, it doesn't just come to you.
Like if you're like every time you grab a Coca-Cola and open it up, you expect a certain experience from that, right? Brand. They might even own that word, by the way. Anyway, the point is that you expect a certain experience every time, or every time you go out to your favorite restaurant, you expect that experience. It's no different in alcohol. If we don't treat it that way, we're going to be brooming a lot of clients that want to come to us for that experience, but don't get it. So that's definitely super important.
I always tell a new employee, and I know you're watching time too, but I always tell a new employee, I want you to think about something. Pick your favorite drink, okay? Maybe it's Coca-Cola, right? Whatever it is, pick your favorite drink. I want you to think about all the processes that had to be in place for you to experience the same flavor and the same taste every time,
Yeah.
irregardless of where you bought that.
It's crazy.
And then they suddenly are like, oh, wow, I just hadn't thought about that, because that's exactly what you're just talking about, right?
Exactly it.
That's brand, and that's where I think process gets understated.
Yeah.
It gets it, but it's also part of your own leadership development. The more
Yeah.
you work on process, the more you realize how it helps all your team be inspired.
Mhm.
We have what's called a DB meeting. A lot of us do, right? And we have it different ways. But I've developed a DB meeting where we really focus on a process for our construction crew, where they put up their goals and their percentages and their team, and
Yeah.
they've gotten so in love with it as a product of inspiring them and being able to lead their team, that
Yeah.
they won't delegate it to anybody. They're like, yeah, I'd ask him, like, why don't you delegate that to Ben or have him do that if you guys are one? Oh no, because they've got their own authenticity into it. But now
Exactly.
they've realized it's an inspirational tool for them, the foreman, to lead their team.
Yes.
Right. So process is so important right now, I feel
It is.
like. And it's,
It's something that they can hold on to, right? If you just say,
yeah,
"Hey, Sam,
yeah,
go build that wall," it'd be like,
yeah.
okay, I'm gonna go build that wall. How deep, how tall, how wide, what texture, like all of that's
Right,
become
right.
with the process, exactly he can go out with confidence and
Yeah,
be able to do it faster because he knows what's supposed to happen. I mean, that sounds pretty basic, but it's the core fundamental belief of
yeah.
having processes no
Yeah,
matter
and something that I really liked about you when I met you was the clarity, right, of communicating that.
what.
And so it's not just the process, but it's the clarity of how well you communicate your process.
Yes.
So if you've got to work on your ability to communicate in simplicity and with impact, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you've always had that. Like, I was always impressed. Like, when we first started talking, you had a lot of impact. You had a lot of. There was just a lot of clarity,
Yeah.
and that, I feel, holds a lot of businesses back. There's no clarity in what their process actually is, because it's different every time. But
Yes.
there's also no clarity internally on what their values are, what their mission is. It kind
Yeah.
of changes depending on the client. The problem with that in this kind of environment is that's not what clients are looking for. They're
Yeah.
looking for clarity, and they're looking for authenticity. Are you human? Are you
Yeah.
human? Like, do you struggle with stuff? Like, oh yeah, like, we've all experienced this right now, right? You wake up in the morning and you have like a little bit of a dry throat, and your eyes are a little watery, and you don't feel so great. And you're like, oh my god, I have
Dying.
coronavirus, right? Like, okay, like, right, we're all experiencing this sort of like doubt,
It's
which
crazy.
is kind of crazy and silly, right? Because under normal circumstances, I
Yeah.
wouldn't even think twice about it. I don't, like, okay, I've got a dry throat. I live at 5,000 feet in the air. We're
Yeah.
in a high plains desert that is like 1% humidity, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
But all of a sudden, this environment. And so it's like the humanness of us,
Yeah.
our authenticity is more important than ever. And it
Yeah.
comes out in your process.
Yep. I think some people think process is kind
Mhm.
of like a box thing where they feel like they're
Yeah,
not gonna be able to put personality on it because if you do it the same way every time, it's gonna get boring. Like if you walk
right.
1 mile all the time, you get bored. But that's
Yeah.
not the case. It's the framework which your personality hangs on.
Yes.
That's really what it is. It's a
Yeah.
framework to know that if you do A, B, C, and D, that you're gonna get to E, but you
Yeah.
can get there many ways. You just gotta get there. Right.
Yeah.
But you add it in, different clients bring different energy in and you adjust it. But the reality is you still end up at the same destination, but you've hit all the pieces you need
Yeah.
to. So psychologically, they can be taken on a journey.
Yes.
And
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
so yeah,
You're taking them on a vision journey,
exactly.
and within that, that's the piece where we can give back to our clients so much right now, because
Mhm.
that's, we experience joy, they experience joy in the process.
Yeah,
It doesn't
absolutely.
matter what's happening outside of that.
Yeah,
My team experiences joy in the craftsmanship of it, in the building of it,
yeah,
and them having the ability to continue that work is part of their happiness and joy,
absolutely. And the
right?
pride in their building. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's all, and it's all tied together, within that, and it's more important than ever, right? To do
Right.
to do that and be human too, and be like,
Yeah.
oh man, I'm struggling
Just
with
be
this.
human. That's all I ask.
Be human, be human.
So,
um,
Cheri, if you could give one piece of advice to other design
okay,
build, landscape
yeah.
design build companies out there, what would it be?
Okay, one of the hardest things about, I feel, about being a leader, and that one piece of advice is this: you have to be grounded in yourself. Do not let other people's opinions and values influence that. If
Yeah.
you believe in what you're doing and you believe internally in what your authenticity is and what your product is, your team will believe it, your clients will believe it, and the power you have to impact people is more.
Yeah.
Now, there's never been more importance on not only process, but leadership
Mhm.
than right now. It's easy, right? People say, "Oh, I'm going to get a certificate," right? Oh, boom, you're a leader, right? I got a certificate. I'm a leader. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Leadership is about when you have all the contingencies coming at you, when you have clients telling you, or teammates within your team telling you, or even other people in your industry telling you that you should do things differently, that you have a center core and understanding that you are aligned with your own values and you're doing things the way you need to do them to be authentic.
Yes.
That is the hardest thing about leadership. It's not easy. I'm going to choose to do those things because they're in line with my values,
Even if they're hard and feel.
even if they're hard. And actually, more importantly, if
Yep.
they're hard,
Yep.
I'm going to do them because I believe in them.
Yep.
And for everybody, their beliefs are going to be different.
Yep.
And that's the one thing I would say right now is the most important thing is understanding that your ability to have happiness and promote that and have impact with everyone in your industry
Yeah.
and even in your personal life is about understanding your core values and not letting anyone change your mind,
Yeah. I love that.
right?
Yep. The discipline to stick with who you are, right?
Stick with who you are, be authentic,
Yep. It's,
and learn and grow. Be uncomfortable in the learning, like be vulnerable, right? With boundaries,
pick
like
something new to talk about today. That's the way I like to say it. Right?
yeah.
You
Right.
you got to have the guts to stand up today. You know what? Today's the day I'm going to suck at something new because I said that 3 weeks ago. And look where I am now with that other thing.
Right. Right.
And you got to pick that day and just do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's going to be uncomfortable, but you got to get, comfortable being uncomfortable or you're never going to grow.
But how much do we love sharing those
Yeah.
moments? Like we
Yeah.
go, "Oh my God, when I was struggling with this and I just powered through it, like I can't believe I'm here now." And
Yeah.
and then people go, "Wait, you struggle with that too?"
Yeah.
There's a connection with that, and then there's also this sense of accomplishment that comes from tackling the hardest thing of the day.
Yeah.
I always say, do the hardest thing first, because then the
Exactly.
rest of the day is easy.
Yeah.
you know,
Trying
it's
to teach
like,
my kids that now when it comes to the work they have to do. I'm like, get the
yeah,
biggest thing done first. Don't let it hang
yep,
over your head all day. And then
yep,
you can do all
yep.
the little things later. It's that simple. The day's
Yeah.
accomplishment that's done. And I got a
Yeah.
little bit more time with that. But
Yeah.
anyway, I just still have that.
Right?
But,
I
yeah,
think it's an
so
ongoing process, right?
it,
Like,
it is. It is a learning process, right?
yeah, no, it is.
So one last question for you is, what positive do you think you're going to see, even in this industry or just in life,
Yeah.
from this event? We'll call it.
Okay, so I would say it's a focus on what matters. It's a sudden awareness and focus on what really matters in our lives, and it's a shifting of, do we have to continue doing things the same way, or was that actually not working for me?
Yeah.
Because now we have this moment where we're actually getting a lot of data and feedback that, that's interesting. For years, I did this where I went to clients' sites and I traveled all over and I spent a lot of drive time.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of time. I listened to books. I wouldn't say I lost time, but
Yeah.
suddenly I'm aware of, is that really necessary?
Yeah.
And we have this opportunity now to let rituals or habits that don't actually serve us to drop away
Yeah.
and embrace new habits that actually could make a huge difference in our lives overall.
Absolutely. I love that.
That's the change I see. It's a shift in mindset.
Yep.
Wow, this is what's important. Suddenly we're with our kids at home. My kids are kind of a little bit more grown up, but I have a lot of friends that their kids aren't going to school. They're at home with them now.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're like, my kids don't have to go to school to get social engagement and to get education. What a
Yeah.
mind shift that is. And
Yeah.
now actually we have family time to go walking together and go play outside together that we weren't having before because we were in the car all the time. Right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like that same shift, I think, is what's going to happen. A mindset shift in what really matters for each of us, and is important in our lives.
Love that.
And we can do it differently. We don't
Yeah.
have to do it the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I think of big companies, right? The ones with the gigantic office buildings and all that are now shut down. They're all working remotely. I wonder if the CEOs are sitting here thinking, why
Huh.
did they own that building?
Yeah,
You know,
right?
because
I mean, you've
things
got
are still working.
utilities, you've got rent, you've got
Yeah,
the stress of the commute. I
yeah,
was looking at some of the maps of pollution, right?
yeah,
Okay, and these are world problems we've been thinking about for years. How do we reduce pollution? How do we reduce people's stress in their lives? How much stress actually comes from our cars
absolutely.
driving all over the
Daily.
place, right?
Yeah,
The oil and gas industry. So it's like all of a sudden we're aware of, wow, we don't actually need to do that.
yeah,
We can still work and we can still get business done and we can still have connection and we can still have social. And sure, it's not the same, I mean, like in terms of the social piece, but we can still have these things
absolutely.
in a very different context.
Yeah.
What a great opportunity. I feel like, I can explore everything in my life right now. That's like, is that working for me? Okay,
Yeah.
I can just get rid of that right now.
Put it
Like,
on the
I
block,
don't need
cut
this
it.
anymore. Right? And then be like, wow, maybe I can try this new thing.
Exactly.
It like lowers the hurdle for being aware like that. And what a huge thing that mindfulness or awareness is
Yeah, it's great.
for
It's
all
great.
of us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sherry, do you have anything else you want to share with us?
I think you've hit on just about everything. I mean, just that I mean, I love you guys. I love the industry. I love everyone who's in the industry. There's such a powerful thing that we do, that gives back to humanity.
Yeah,
And I feel like that's part of our happiness. Our happiness is in the now. Our happiness is in the process of what we do, but our happiness is also in giving back to the world.
yeah,
And that's the beauty of this industry. We
yeah.
give back to people's lives.
We do.
It's huge.
Yeah,
It's
it's great.
huge.
Yeah.
You can't touch that.
Yeah, you can't go with a 10-foot pole, that's for sure. Even a 6-foot pole now, right?
Right? The only one that has the coup de grace, and that is nature. I mean, we walk in nature and we're awed and we're in a sense of wonder and we're kids again because
Yeah.
we might see a redwood forest or a redwood tree and we might go, oh my God, like I
So
feel so small and it's so
yeah,
amazing. And we're in the moment and we're appreciating and we're grateful for that.
yeah,
And it's that gratitude that also makes a difference. That we are grateful for what we can
yeah.
deliver to the world and to people's lives. It's
Love
huge.
that. Yeah.
It's
I mean,
huge. Yeah,
gratitude is so huge. I
it
start
is.
every day out with a gratitude exercise, just being thankful for this day and thankful for every single thing that has
Yeah.
happened to me, happened for me, everything, because it puts me exactly where I am right now.
I
And
do have one more thing to share with you.
go
So,
for it.
when people say, okay, gratitude, I write in my gratitude journal, we've
Mhm.
taken that another level. At our company, I started expressing gratitude daily that was authentic. I would pick something that I was really grateful for on something somebody did. And I
Mhm.
started doing it every single day with every team member. And then
Right.
some magic started happening. Because what happened was then I started getting gratitude back from my
Mhm.
employees
Yep.
and from my clients. And then the whole team started expressing gratitude to each other and being grateful for what someone brought, that particular day.
Yeah.
And then they were also more compassionate to what was going on. And it had this sort of domino effect that I never even imagined. I was like, yeah, gratitude, you write in your journal, but it's not
Yep.
something for business.
Yep.
Baloney. I
Yeah.
say, BS.
Human. Be
BS.
human.
Because if you do it every day
Yeah.
and you actually practice what you want to accomplish, what you want to see as a leader, you'll be amazed at the results. And our teams need that too. It's not just external. Our
Yeah.
teams within our company and our clients, they need that right now
Yeah.
to be delivered to counteract a lot of the negativity we're all getting hit with.
Absolutely. Yeah,
You
they need
know?
to get it from
Yeah,
someone.
it's
And if they're
huge.
not getting it at home, they're getting it at work, they're gonna be even more productive and
Yeah,
happy in your environment. And what that
yeah.
that's win-win.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
then we're all happy. Everyone here is happy, and
Yeah.
like it's the happiness code, which I
Yeah.
call it at TLC. Right? It's the happiness code.
I love
It's
that.
like
I
the
love
Da
it.
Vinci Code, but
Yeah.
it's such a big difference when we're all happy in doing our work and our ability to deliver anything to anyone. Now
Yeah.
we're happy internally. Now we can deliver a lot.
Love it. Love it.
So yeah. So that was one other thing I wanted to share. So.
Definitely. Sherry, thank you so much for joining us
Yeah,
today. And thank you for sharing what was on your heart and what you
yeah.
guys are doing about TLC and TLC Mobile. I'm super excited to see that succeed for you guys. It's gonna be so
Thank you.
wait till it starts popping up here in Pennsylvania. I'll be like, I know who did that.
Right, exactly. And
Yeah.
thank you so much for this opportunity, Josh. I mean, it's just so great to talk to you always. I
Thank
just
you.
love, I love what you do. I love the work that you do. I love your passion for things. You're just living your best life. and you're sharing that with your family and everyone. And I think that's a huge strength that you have. So I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. It's been a long time. So
Thank you. It has been a long time. If anybody's watching has any friends in the landscape design build industry that you think would benefit from this kind of conversation, or
yeah,
enjoy connecting with us, please reach out. We have a great Facebook group that we're all connected with, and
yeah,
it allows us to communicate and talk and bring up questions. And really, it's about being a community, a network, a human
yeah,
network that we can
yeah,
all help each other propel. It's not a bunch of people that are scared of a competitor knowing what they're doing. Like, there's
yeah,
always that mindset people are thinking. It's just a big loving community of
yeah,
human beings that want to help each other succeed and grow. We're
yeah,
all on different journeys, and we're all here to be steps
yeah.
within that staircase for everybody. So,
Exactly.
if anybody,
And here's the thing, you brought this up on Yes Express. I know people are worried about, oh, I don't want to share, my unique product or whatever that. The uniqueness you bring to your product is you.
yeah, exactly.
If I share my process with other people, they're going to make it unique to them.
Yeah,
That's not going to affect me or my company.
I don't
And
know.
so, when people were talking about like, oh, are you sure you want to go on Yes Express and like share all your things? I'm like, absolutely, because
Yeah,
what I bring to my team and to my product is unique. The process has been developed and there's been work in that, but somebody's going to have to work on that themselves anyway because it's not going to fit them if they adopt
yeah,
my process. So it's all about you. You are the most unique thing you bring.
exactly. Exactly.
So share, because then we are connected, right? We're connected. And so I've already got social media going,
Yeah,
to share this video on my end as well with my own network and our people. And we'll repost it on our blog. And we have a blog on our website. We're currently doing the golden ratio, which is really fun.
I love
Yeah.
that.
I love the golden ratio. Like, everybody knows about it, right? But so I
Yeah,
did some things to like how you apply it. So I love sharing, so I agree with you. I think we should all share and help each other,
yeah,
and not worry about competitiveness and all
yeah.
of that stuff. We're all gonna be good. We're all gonna do well. We're all gonna go through this because we're passionate about it.
Exactly. Exactly. We can all help each other through. So,
Exactly.
Cheri, thank you so much for everything.
Yeah.
Good luck out there in Boulder. Need anything, obviously reach out, and
Yeah.
we'll continue the conversation. So,
You too in Pennsylvania. All right.
thank you.
All
Reach
right.
out.
See ya.
How you doing?